This morning, authorities in Kansas City will begin a fifth day of searching for 10-month-old Lisa Irwin, but they say they're no closer to finding her or figuring out who took her from her crib. This as questions continue about whether Lisa's parents are fully cooperating with the investigation. NBC's Jay Gray is live this morning outside the family's home with the very latest for us. Jay, good morning.
Good morning to you, Lester. Yeah, yellow ribbons laced around whatever they can be here at Lisa's home, a sign of support from this community that, like police, continues to look for the little girl and answers about what happened here.
Let them know that she's loved.
Dozens gathered in Kansas City overnight to say prayers and light candles, though at this point in the investigation, little light has been shed on why 10-month-old Lisa Irwin is gone or where she might be.
We're just trying to show our support for her and show her that, there's people out there that care for her.
Okay, now bring it back.
Police barricades have been pulled down, but yellow tape returned to Lisa's home late Friday because she has not. Family members wrapped the neighborhood in yellow ribbons, hoping for any sign of what happened to the little girl.
It's hard with the lack of leads. It's difficult. What do you do? Nobody's sleeping, nobody's eating.
Lisa's dad, Jeremy Irwin, showed up briefly at the house. He never went inside and after just a few minutes drove off without saying a word.
Taking lie detector tests.
Though earlier he did talk with Matt Lauer and said he's willing to take a polygraph if police ask.
I'd be willing to do whatever it takes to bring my daughter Lisa home where she belongs. If that's what it takes, that's what we can do.
Yeah, if you can make copies.
Friends are still passing out flyers with Lisa's picture and a plea for any new information in the case, while investigators just 2 doors down looked through paperwork, then showed those papers to and talked with a neighbor for more than an hour. It was another day of little progress in the case. FBI agents sifted through a local landfill and police with metal detectors scanned the family's backyard, though they point out both searches were little more than shots in the dark.
Sitting around trying to think of everything that we could possibly do. The idea came up. There's absolutely no reason in the world why we wouldn't try it. Just, hey, let's try it. You never know what you might find.
To this point, though, they found nothing, including baby Lisa. And while Jeremy Irwin says he will take a polygraph if asked, Lisa's mom, Debbie Bradley, apparently already has. In fact, she says that police tell her she failed that test but won't say why they believe or what she is lying about. She says that she insists she still has no idea what happened to the baby or where Lisa might be right now. Lester.
Jay Gray this morning. Jay, thank you. And here with more insight is NBC News analyst and former FBI profiler Clint Van Zandt. Clint, good morning. Good to see you.
Hi, Lester. You too.
The mother says police told her that she failed the polygraph test, and according to her, they told her she's a suspect as well. Is it a question of that she would be the only one without an alibi?
Well, that's the challenge right now, Lester. As many of these stories as you covered, police, FBI, they always go to the last person with the victim, the person closest. They substantiate that person's alibi, and then they move on into the community looking for, in this case, the kidnapper. It appears at this point law enforcement is a little challenged by the mother's explanation of the events of that night, and so far they haven't been able to come up with anybody else as a potential suspect. So she still has to be eliminated.
And what are the odds, though, that this is, in fact, a stranger abduction? And if it is there a window that is narrowing in terms of the odds of finding this child?
Well, I think in both. In the vast majority of cases, Lester, when we have an infant abduction, it's someone who's trying to replace either a newborn infant or they told their husband or boyfriend they were pregnant. They had to come up with the proof. This is a 10-month-old girl. She's 2.5 foot long, 25 to 30 pounds. So obviously she's not going to pass as a newborn. And the story of the abduction where someone in the middle of the night, the one night that the husband happens to be working late, somebody comes through a window, not the baby's window, but another window in the house, walks through the house, finds the baby, picks up the baby, carries the baby into the kitchen, picks up 3 cell phones, turns on all the lights in the house and walks out the front door. I think that's challenging from law enforcement. Could that happen? Of course it could, but right now the balance is let's find out if the mother had anything to do with it. And Lester, you and I and everybody else, we want to say a parent could never do that to a child. Well, the answer is yes, they could, but an unknown offender could do the same thing. So we've got two parallel investigations. Does the family know something about it? Is it an unknown offender who happened to find this one house in the middle of the night where the husband wasn't home and no one heard what went on? Could that have happened too? Those are the challenges. Two tracks to go down. Neither track so far has led to the baby.
And we've all covered and watched enough of these stories to know that ultimately the family has to be questioned. It is part of the process. The parents appeared, as you know, on the Today Show on Friday. They answered some pretty blunt questions, including one from Matt about whether they suspect each other in Lisa's disappearance. I want to play that and then get your thoughts after that. Here we go.
Jeremy, when you look at Debbie, do you have any suspicions that there's anything she's not telling you relating to the disappearance of Lisa?
None whatsoever. None whatsoever. We've been asked that millions of times, and there's no doubt in my mind that she had anything. There's no way she couldn't have had anything at all.
And Debbie, the same question for you and Jeremy. Do you have any doubt in your mind that he hasn't told you something?
No, he's a good father, and he's good to me, and he loves her, and everybody loves her, but no, there's no way.
Now, Clint, the police say that the family's no longer cooperating. They disagree with that, but they did acknowledge they kind of get fed up. He said he reached his boiling point with the questions. I would imagine there is a point, you know, if you're not involved, that you get tired of the finger being pointed at you. But is there anything in that tape you saw, there anything about their actions that you question?
No, I think you've got to be careful trying to read things in the body language or what's said. You know, you would hope the couple would support each other. And Lester, the only thing worse than losing a child, I think, is being accused, maybe falsely accused, that you had something to do with it. But right now, here we are 5 days later. The story of the abduction seems very rare that something like this would happen. They haven't come up with any similar things in the nearby community. Nobody has reason to take this child that they know of, so law enforcement has to continue to hammer away at the family until they're convinced they had nothing to do with it. In the meantime, Lester, there's 300 investigators out there, so they're doing more than just interviewing the family. They're looking under every rock. They're looking at child predators. They've obviously gone through the landfill. But, you know, this is one small child. There are almost 900,000 people reported missing every year. This baby is important as every other child who may be reported as missing. We've got to find out what happened to her, too.
Well, we certainly hope that Lisa is found safe and sound very soon. Clint Van Sant, thank you very much for your insight. We appreciate it.